Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshunamilitanjena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tada Bhaktaya Namo Namaha Yam Pravajantam Anupeta Apeta Krityam Rapayano Virakatara Ajuhava Putreti Tanmayataya Taravo Binedus Tam Sarvabhutam Hridaya Munimanatosmi Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaivanuruttamam Devim Saraswatam Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Bhaktya Vihina Paradalakshay Keep Tashtakamari Tarangamadye Kripamai Tam Sharanam Prapanna Vrinde Namaste Charanara Vindam Tavevasmi Na Jivami Tvaya Vina Iti Vigyaya Radhe Tam Nayanam Charanandike Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Okay, so we're going to begin by offering our most humble obeisance unto the lotus feet of our beloved Gurus, unto Sri Guru Pada Padmana Jalila Bhavishta, Om Vishnu Pad Asto Tatsat Sri Simad Abhaya Charnaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada and Sri Guru Pada Padmanita Lita Bhavishta Om Vishnu Pad Asta Tatsat Sri Simad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj and our exalted Upana Guru Varga. So, last class we kind of reviewed the 10 offenses from the previous class and then read from Srila Prabhupada's Nectar of Instruction, commenting specifically on the idea of not offending pure devotees, how absolutely destructive that is, and to also recognize that pure devotees may appear in many places, not just in this group, this institution, that institution, and under no circumstance is there any justification or purpose or good fruit in doing that, and just destruction. So, now Bhaktivinoda Thakur is going to speak about something else in the pursuit of understanding Anartha Nivriti. Text 24, he begins by saying, false renunciation, Palgu Vairagya, is prohibited. Bhakti Samrita Sindhu states, Prapanchi Kataya Buddhya Hari Sambandhi Vastuna Mumukshubi Purityago Vairagyam Palgu Katyate. When sadhaks who desire liberation renounce that which is related to Hari, such as the scriptures, the deity, the holy name, Mahaprasad, the spiritual master, and the Vaishnavas, considering them material, their renunciation is called futile renunciation, Palgu Vairagya. This is unfavorable to bhakti. There's no commentary on this one, but we see this sometimes, this kind of renunciation. And the flip side of it, the other meaning of this, is that when you see somebody with this mood of, why this is not favorable, I don't have to associate with Vaishnavas, I'm not going to go near the spiritual master, this Mahaprasad, I don't want this, holy name, there's some difference in that, not so important, the deity, that's for beginners. Any justification that one may have for rejecting any of these transcendental entities may be a sign that one is, in fact, inclined towards impersonalism or just sense enjoyment, right? That all of these things related to Hari, Guru, and Vaishnavas, and Seva, Hari, scriptures, deity, holy name, Mahaprasad, spiritual master, and the Vaishnavas. These are all important things to serve in our pursuit of bhakti. Don't disrespect or neglect any of them under the false idea of renunciation. Text 25. One who is qualified to chant the holy name gives up all fruitive activities. So we can give up, but in what way? Here, it's quoting the 5th chapter of the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Devarshi bhutatmananim praternam nakinkaro nayam ranicharajan sarvatmanaya sharanam sharanyam gato mukundam parihritya kartam. This is a very oft-quoted verse. One who has taken complete shelter of Bhagavan Mukunda, who is affectionate towards the surrendered, is not indebted to the demigods, to his forefathers, to ordinary living entities, or to relatives and guests. He is not subordinate to anyone other than Mukunda, nor is he their servant. Very important verse. And this means one who's come to the stage of Shuddha Bhakti, at least Madhyam. As long as one is Vaishnava Prai, Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains in Jaiva Dharma, you still have to perform your regulated duties. Otherwise, you can get out of control. But very important, for one who's surrendered and taken complete shelter, Devarshi Bhutatma Nirnim Praternam Nakinkaro Nayam Ranicharajan Sarvatmanaya Sharanam Sharanyam Gato Mukundam Parihritya Kartam. One who has taken complete shelter of Bhagavan Mukunda, not casual shelter, who is affectionate towards the surrendered, right? So have that quality. What is that quality, that affection? Prema, Maitri, Kripa, Apeksha, right? Affectionate means you're showing love to the spiritual master and to the Lord. You're showing friendship, Maitri, to Shuddha Bhaktas. And you're showing Kripa, mercy and affection to innocent. These are qualities of the Madhyam, right? At least Madhyam. So who's affectionate toward the surrendered, is not indebted to the demigods, to his forefathers, to ordinary living entities, or to relatives and guests. He is not subordinate to anyone other than Mukunda, nor is he their servant. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Narayan Maharaj says, the performance of the Shraddha ceremony and other material activities meant to absolve one's debts to the forefathers, as presented in the Karma Kanda section of the Vedas, is not for devotees surrendered to Bhagavan. The only injunction for these devotees is to worship Bhagavan, offer Bhagavat Prasad to the forefathers, and also accept Bhagavat Prasad with friends and relatives. The ultimate purport of the entire Bhagavad Gita is that Bhagavan will liberate from all sins those who have surrendered unto him and given up their reliance on all other dharmas. When a person acquires the qualification for exclusive devotion, he is not obliged to follow the rules of Jnana and Karma Shastras, for he will attain all perfection simply by cultivating bhakti. Therefore, one should understand that Bhagavan's promise in Bhagavad Gita, Name Bhakta Pranashyati, my devotee never perishes, is placed above all. Right. So we see that in India, that culture of offering Shraddha to the deceased relatives is still quite prominent, which is quite appropriate. In our temple, many congregation would come after a relative had left this world, and we would do that ceremony for them. But it would be a simple ceremony, and it mostly was composed of chanting some mantras and offering Bhagavad Prasad to that relative, which is the best thing that can be done. However, one who's fully engaged doesn't need to do that. Sometimes they do anyway, out of habit, out of connection with that culture, or it may be just to set an example for others in society. Now the question might come, if one who's fully surrendered doesn't have to do all this, why did Mahaprabhu do it? Mahaprabhu went to Gaya, right, to perform Shraddha for his father, for Jagannath Mishra. But remember that Mahaprabhu's life from the beginning, of course his identity and devotion, even as a child, was covered, right? And while he was performing his scholarly pastimes, also covered. When he went to Gaya, he had previously met Ishvara Puripad, and he had associated with him very favorably for many, many weeks, going to the house of Gopinathacharya every day and sitting with Ishvara Puripad for many hours discussing scripture. But still, he wasn't showing outwardly to others his devotional sentiments, right? So when he went to Gaya, he wasn't like a fully surrendered devotee. Of course, internally he was, but outwardly not. So again, he was setting example. All of Mahaprabhu's life was of example. When he was living as a householder, even before, again, showing his devotional sentiments, he would invite guests every day to his house. And his wife, Lakshmi Priya, she would cook, and he would serve with his own hand the prasad to the guests, up to 20 every day. Mixed, sometimes sannyasis, Brahmins, beggars, low-class people. He did that. And in this way, secretly, he was spreading devotion. Because what could be more pure than foodstuffs cooked by the goddess of fortune and offered by the Lord himself and offered and handed by his own hand to those guests? What kind of benefit did those people receive? Spiritual benefit. But then when he went to Gaya, also, because so many things are accomplished in the same pastime, he went to Gaya on that pretext, but again, unknown to anyone, of course to him, internally he knew, he's super soul. Ishvara Puri had gone there, and they met again, and he asked to take initiation, and he did. And then he came back fully surrendered. And then, even though he did his appropriate duties every day, he exhibited the tendencies of a great, great devotee. And then ultimately, he abandoned all worldly responsibilities, even his mother and his very young wife, who maybe by that time was 13 or 14 only, maybe 15, I'm not sure how long he had been married to her, but she was quite young, and his mother was a widow. Generally, you don't abandon older parents. Gopal Bhatta had met Mahaprabhu as a young man when he had gone down to, as a young boy actually, had gone down to, when he was in a South Indian pilgrimage, and he stopped in Rameshwaram for 4 months during Chaturmasya and stayed with the family of Gopal Bhatta, his father Venkata Bhatta and his uncle Prabodhananda Saraswati. And Gopal Bhatta served him every day, and of course developed completely unlimited pure love for Mahaprabhu. And when Mahaprabhu left, Gopal Bhatta wanted to go. And he said, no, you can't come with me, nor can you go to Vrindavan. You have to take care of your parents, they're elderly. When they leave this world, then you can leave. So he dutifully did it, because his parents were great devotees, right? And so Gopal Bhatta stayed and took care of them, right? And then they left a little bit early, actually, unexpectedly, and that was a pretext. Now he could go. So, Yeah, not that we give up all duties. Even in the lives of great devotees, some duties have to be accepted in relation to family and others, but only those duties that support one's bhakti, right? So, text 26, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, can we crack a window a little bit, get some air? The Padma Purana, which quoted in Bhakti Samrita Sindhu, states that one should give up niyamagraha and follow the essence of all injunctions. Okay, we may remember niyamagraha means to either follow Vedic injunctions fanatically, those that may not apply to bhakti, but they're Vedic injunctions. They may not be favorable to you in your stage of bhakti, but you're following them anyway. Or it means giving up injunctions that you should follow. Right? So this verse helps us to understand what injunctions we should follow and what we should not. What is the real purport of all injunctions? This is from the Padma Purana. And Srila Rupa Goswami quotes it in Bhakti Samrita Sindhu. Famous verse also. Smartavya satatam vishnor vis smartavyo najatu chit sarve vidhi nishedha syur etayor eva kinkara. One should always remember Vishnu, smartavya satatam vishnor, right? And never forget him. Vi smartavyo najatu chit. Vi means never. Right? If smartavya means remember, vismartav means don't, means to forget. Vismartavyo na jatuchit. Never forget him. All other rules and prohibitions are subservient to these two principles. So whatever's favorable for remembering Krishna, that we should accept. Whatever is unfavorable, cast aside. Srila Narayan Maharaj explains, all of the various rules and prohibitions of Shastra are established on the basis of the above stated main rule and prohibition. The main injunction is that throughout one's whole life, one should always remember Bhagavan Vishnu. Varnashram and other arrangements that are made to maintain one's life are subordinate to this rule. The main prohibition is that one should never forget Bhagavan. To abandon sinful activities, to give up indifference to Bhagavan, and to atone for sins are subordinate to the principal injunction and this principal prohibition. So what does it mean to give up indifference to Bhagavan? To give up activities in devotional service, right? But even those activities serve the principle of remembering Bhagavan and not forgetting him. Right? Everything should be appreciated in that context. Hence, all the rules and prohibitions mentioned in the scriptures are perpetual servants of the rule to always remember Bhagavan and of the prohibition to never forget him. From this, one can understand that among all the rules regarding Varnashram and so forth, that rule which calls for remembering Bhagavan is eternal. Now, that's interesting because, that is pretty straightforward. We can understand that. But in the beginning of our devotion, while we're clawing our way up through the Kanishta platform, and even in Madhyam, but especially in the Kanishta platform, no one can say that that person's always remembered, no matter what they're doing. So even in the midst of seva, we may not be remembering. Our mind will be going here and there, hither and thither, right? So very, very important that at this stage, what is our injunction? How do we remember? By remembering Sri Guru, by following his instructions. There's a story very, very early on. I think within the first year, maybe. And Srila Prabhupada is in New York at their little temple there. And of course, these devotees are so new. They absolutely know nothing. There are no books yet, no printed books. Srila Prabhupada's giving class every day, right, from his Bhagavatams. Well, the Bhagavatams are there, the first three volumes. But they weren't widely available. They were for sale and all. And devotees really didn't know much of anything. Everything was Prabhupada said, Prabhupada said. Even when I joined, that was the mantra throughout the temple. Prabhupada said, Prabhupada said. And in a way, it's very interesting because everyone was remembering Srila Prabhupada, who is the Supreme Personality of Servitor Godhead. So remembering Guru, also, smartavyasa tatam guru, right? Vismartavyo najachit. Never forget Guru as well, especially in this stage. And then we're remembering by serving the order of Guru. Anyway, so Srila Prabhupada had one young man. And remember, everyone came from a very disturbed background, right? So much intoxication, drugs, low life, right? This is the very beginning. There was no vegetarianism in America. It was all, just so gross, degraded. Nobody knew anything about India. The only thing you ever knew about India was cartoons with some guy playing a little shanai, and you see a snake or somebody climb up a rope, or you see a cartoon with a guy lying on a bed of nails, or things like that. When I was a kid, there was a TV show called Andy's Gang. I don't know if you ever remembered that. Anyway, they had a series about these two little guys, little servants in India. They had little loincloths and turbans. And I couldn't understand anything about it. I think it was taken from a movie. It was taken from a movie, a famous Indian child actor. At any rate, every week they had a little short, right? And it was quite fascinating. I didn't know what was going on, but it was very exotic. And, that was pretty much the extent of our exposure to India. Nobody knew anything. So this guy, he's living in the temple, he's just struggling, and Srila Prabhupada tells him, go out and buy an eggplant. And he goes out. He gives him some money, goes out. He comes back about 2 to 3 hours later. And Srila Prabhupada says, where have you been? Oh, Srila Prabhupada, I went out. I was so confused, so attracted. I was seeing this, I was seeing that. Did you get the eggplant? Oh, but Srila Prabhupada, all these, I was talking to ladies, and I was doing this, I was doing that. Did you get the eggplant? Oh, but Srila Prabhupada, I was so agitated, and I was so disturbed, and this and that. Did you get the eggplant? Oh, yes, here's the eggplant. Good boy. And then send him back to his service. That's how you do it. In the beginning, you remember by just staying steady in your service, and gradually everything will come, right? But, we have the process. Steady in service means doing our mat seva, right? And especially when you're young, you should work very hard, because when you're very young, the senses are quite powerful and quite disturbed as well. When you get older, the senses diminish, but the mind is still strong as ever. So you have to stay busy, right? And remembering busy in a favorable way, according to the injunction of Guru and those dear to Guru, right? So all rules and prohibitions mentioned in the scriptures are perpetual servants of the rule to always remember Bhagavan, and of the prohibition to never forget him. From this, one can understand that among all the rules regarding varnashram and so forth, that rule which calls for remembering Bhagavan is eternal. That's how you can understand the position of a devotee, one who's always engaged favorably and remembering. Right? So, text 27. Do not endeavor to perform activities such as atoning for sins through karma and jnana. Okay, once again, a verse from the Padma Purana, which is going to clearly show there are different kinds of injunctions in the scripture. Not all of them have the same weight. Some of them are meant for people with lesser adhikar, lesser eligibility. The injunctions for those in karma kanda or jnana kanda are not for those pursuing bhakti. Harer apyaparadanja kuyad dvi parapangshala nama shraya kadachit syat taratyeva sanamata. Okay, what does this mean? Translation. Oh, more verse. Namno pi savasurido ya paradat patatyada nama parada juktanam namyeva harantyagam avishranta payuktani tanye varta karani cha. That wretched person who commits seva aparad at the lotus feet of Sri Hari can become freed from his offense if he takes shelter of the holy name. Every kind of aparad is nullified by service to the holy name. All perfection is attained by chanting the holy name without anartas and with a sense of one's relationship with the Lord continuously and uninterruptedly, like an unbroken stream of oil. So we can understand from this verse Rupa Goswami's Anya Bilashita Shunyam Jnana Karmadyanavritam Anukulyena Krishnanushilanam Bhaktir Uttama. Uttam Bhakti is that which is performed with a favorable mood, a mood of love, and perform in without cessation, like an unbroken stream of oil from a jar. The same conception in this Padma Purana, right? And he's saying Seva Parad. We heard earlier that Seva Parad is one of the anartas, service to the deity, service to Guru, service to Vaishnavas, making offense in that. It's destructive to one's bhakti, destructive to one's chanting of the holy name. As long as we are doing these aparads, we can't chant Namabas, what to speak of Shuddhanam. And yet, the solution is still Sri Nam. Sometimes people think, I'm just committing too many offenses, I can't chant. The only solution is to continue to chant. Why? Well, this is described in Jaiva Dharma. Because if you continue to chant, that is the most purifying thing. But if you're committing aparad, you're digging yourself deeper. But if your intent is to overcome the offense, that's a mood shift, right? That's not malicious. That's not exploitive. That's not a mood of separatism and neglect. That's a favorable mood, even if it's just very small. And you continue to chant. It says you should chant unceasingly. And what does that do? Two things. One is that if you're always chanting, you're not in bad association. And aparad comes from bad association since time immemorial. And if you're always chanting, you're in a good environment, right? You're protected. And if you're always chanting with the intent to overcome these offenses, then Krishna's very appreciative of that. Later on in this chapter, we're going to hear a verse that addresses that point specifically, right? So, let's hear that verse once more. That wretched person who commits seva parad at the lotus feet of Sri Hari, seva parad, neglecting your service, right? What's your service? You're supposed to cook today. You're on the deity seva today. You're doing the artik. You're supposed to sweep the temple room. Got to mow the lawn. Whatever it is, there's unlimited seva. And we all have our responsibility. If we're in some pique or anger or whatever is causing us and we neglect, that's seva parad. Okay? So the only solution to that is to pick up, do the seva again, and to take shelter of the holy name. But you can't take shelter of the holy name by saying, oh, well, I'm doing seva parad. I'll just go chant the holy name, and then my seva parad will be eliminated. That goes back to Namal Balad Yasya Hi Papa Budhi, where you're committing aparad or sin and think, oh, I'll just take shelter of the holy name. That's my highest service. I'm always remembering Vishnu and never forgetting him, right? You have to be careful with that. Of course, taking shelter of chanting is ultimately our only refuge, right? But just be careful. There's subtleties in the quality of that chanting, in the intent. Do we chant because we hate people and we don't want to be around devotees? Or sometimes I do that. I can't stand it. I go to my room and just chant, right? But when I do, I'm thinking, okay, I got to get rid of this mood. Let me get grounded here. Let me, get back to fundamentals, right? Hari, Guru, and Vaishnavas, right? Smartavya, Satatam Vishnu. Vish smartavyo najatu chit. So, every kind of aparad is nullified by service to the holy name. All perfection is attained by chanting the holy name without anarthas, and with a sense of one's relationship with the Lord continuously and uninterruptedly like an unbroken stream of oil. That point about one's relationship, sambandha. What do we know of our relationship? Right now, we only have a philosophical conception of our relationship. Real knowledge of one's relationship begins to awaken in the advanced stages of asakti and becomes revealed step by step in bhav, right? But he's saying here a sense of one's relationship. So that also has many gradations. In the beginning, we can all have a sense of our relationship. I remember, this famous quote Srila Prabhupada would always say, this Krishna consciousness is very easy. Even a child can practice. And he says, one young girl, the daughter of my disciples, her name is Saraswati, and she goes into the store and she says, do you know who Krishna is? He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yeah, she was like 4 or something. And Srila Prabhupada is very appreciative, and he laughed, said, even a child can understand. So even in the beginning, we can understand. There's one shloka which is called the Mula shloka for Gaudiya Vaishnavas. It's in Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's, I think it's Sanatana Goswami's instructions from Mahaprabhu. Jivera Swarupaya Krishnera Nityadas. Right? That the identity of the jiva, we're eternal servants of Krishna. So in the beginning, that's a philosophical idea that's nurtured and strengthened by continuous hearing, right? And the continuing hearing helps us gain deeper appreciation. Oh, what kind of relationship? One time some devotee asked Srila Narayan Maharaj, said, oh, I'm not making any advancement. He said, what do you mean you're not making advancement? Do you want to enjoy in this material world? No. Oh, okay. You want liberation. You want impersonal liberation. No. Ah, okay. You want to go to Vaikuntha. No, I don't want to go to Vaikuntha planets and worship Lord Narayan. Why not? Maybe, I see. Ayodhya. You want to be with Lord Ram. No. You want to go to Dwarka and be with Krishna in his beautiful form. Maybe be one of his queens. No. Where do you want to do then? I want to go to Braj. Ah, you want to be one of Krishna's gopis and be one of his beloveds. No. What do you want? I want to be a Palyadasi of Srimati Radhika. And so he says, so how can you say you're not making any advancement? That conception, just that conception planted in the heart, that's very powerful. Very powerful. And that comes from hearing and association. Right? So, the next verse will describe that, but we'll do that verse tomorrow because the long purport, we'll read this verse again And then the next verse is, everyone should endeavor to attain knowledge of Krishna, right? That's Sambandha Tattva. Krishna Sarup and oneself, Atma Sarup, right? The relationship is Sambandha. One first attains knowledge of Krishna's form and qualities, and then of his pastimes. Chatu Shloki Bhagavat states, and this is one of the 4 verses spoken to Lord Brahma, which is the essence of the Bhagavatam, from which the entire Bhagavatam was expanded. So we'll do that verse tomorrow. Aham evasam evagre nanyad yat sadasat param paschad aham yadetachcha yova shishyeta sosmyaham. This is Garbhodakshai Vishnu speaking to Brahma. Before the creation of this world, only I existed. The gross and the subtle, up to the indefinable Brahman, in other words, the cause, Sat, and effect, Asat, did not exist. Nothing other than I existed. What is manifested in the form of creation is also I. After creation, it is also I. And after annihilation, only I will remain. Okay, so I'll read that one tomorrow, text 28. All right, so we'll offer obeisance to Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, all the assembled Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis, Gaur Premanande.